Here we are yet again, me and Isaac. I guess we're arriving at our final entry, potentially forever, of the Underworld series. I don't know if there's going to be more after this, but yeah, we kind of shotgunned these last two. We've tried to do them pretty quick together, and it turns out it was for good effect, as it seems like these two are kind of a new duology. They feel pretty separate from those original three, I'd say. But how about you, Isaac? Are you happy to be here today for our final Underworld entry?
Kind of surprised, and I lament that we couldn't get this. It's obviously due to scheduling, but I lament that we finished this. I'm not saying I wanted to finish the sister series of Resident Evil first, but I definitely wanted them to kind of like be coinciding along each other. But you know what?
Me too.
It's all right. I don't, it is what it is. I'm not gonna like, uh, spend too many sleepless nights thinking about this. I don't want to keep this up at night, keep me up at night there. But it is what it is. So, but yeah, it is interesting. We're about to finish the series, and yeah, for reasons of because we just because we kept forgetting about what happened previously on in this series. We're like, we kind of probably should finish this off, like, as it were. At least get to the next one, which just happens to be the last one, or at least the most, I guess, latest, not latest, but the last entry in the series. Still nothing yet. No news of anything new. I know Beckinsale, I think, has said she wants to do another one, but it has been 10 years. It's almost gonna be 10 years by this point, so we will definitely
Yeah.
see if what will happen there in the 8 years since Civil War. Just because it was the same year, I just realized.
Oh, I was thinking of that. I was actually thinking of Civil War at the very end of this, and Rogue One, which I'll explain later.
Oh, okay, interesting. I only that only just popped in my mind. The Visions, whole in the 8 years since Mister Stark first became our announced Iron Man to the world. I'm like, oh wait, it's been 8 years since then. Anyway, that is nothing at all. I'm sorry. So please, ladies and gentlemen, those between affiliated, get your Blu-rays, legally or illegally purchased copies of this, digital or physical, and get the timestamps there. We're going to do our level best to provide any context and commentary as to what's happening on the events, but we're obviously going to still talk about maybe the plot, the theme, and whatnot. We're going to have like attempt to do an intellectually stimulating conversation or an entertaining one about this film. And so please, get to, I'll pass all menus to timestamp 0. Caleb, are you ready, sir?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm
All right,
ready.
take it away.
Yeah, well, we'll hit play on the word play, and I'll count down now to three, two, one, play. Yeah, this is yeah. If anyone's been following along so far with this series, this is both of our first time seeing this one, and I think we came in surprisingly positive. We were impressed early on to see that this series seemed to have more mythology, more going on than we would have expected. And I think we were both kind of like, is this going to be like a Resident Evil kind of silly franchise? And maybe the most recent one tipped the closest that we gotten. Uh, and I'll spoil up front. This one I feel like tips maybe a smidge closer. Not definitely not as bad as those Resident Evil movies get. But yeah, I had some mixed feelings for this one. Walking out of it.
Close. Very, like, if not, I'd say I don't want to have a sign flip right now, but it's definitely like mixed to, if not a little bit, like not feeling it.
Yeah. Oh well, I will flip my sign and say not feeling it. Yeah, and we open up here with just like the last one did, kind of recapping what happened previously, doing some little like previously on, showing some old clips, and later on 'cause they continue to do this throughout the movie at times, and a couple times it had me laughing quite a bit. I actually was laughing a lot near the end of this, unintentionally at the, I'm assuming on the part of the filmmakers.
I can see why.
But it is nice to get this reminder, like, hey, this series used to look cool and used to be cool. Is it still relevant here in 20? Is it 2016 or 2014? I can't
I
remember.
believe it's 2016.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's yeah. It'd been pretty old by this point. 13 years. That's a long time for a series to be going.
Again, I give him credit here for keeping on, reminding us of the mythology of this play. Like reminding us, hey, this is not Fast and Furious. Well, I guess it was, but we're actually really trying to like keep continuity and character with this world, which I'll give over Fast and Furious. And I'm only referring to like long running series, so
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
give them that where it's like okay, they're actually like keeping in check with like all their continuity. Knock on wood, asterisk.
Yeah, and I do wonder how these two movies would have looked had Scott Speedman come back as the lead singer of Creed. I feel like him being gone was maybe one of the reasons that these two feel quite different than those first two. I don't know. Or maybe it was the creative team switching up behind the scenes. I don't know. But either way, these two definitely feel like they were, yeah, of a different spirit.
Yeah, Wiseman is still the producer, but how much he is producing this because there was like three other producers or something like that, yeah, or maybe like four others. Yeah, I'm not really too sure.
Yeah, and I'll say the negative train started right off the bat for me for this action scene with all these fades or cuts to black, like they're moving frames. They're even like speeding things up to a weird extent. I was like, oh, for an action franchise, this is some weird cutting for some action stuff here. I don't know if it's exciting or what that is.
And yeah, okay, so first out, yeah, we have this like motorcycle fight, and it seems as though Celine has been cornered by, and again, a bunch of lichen. So whatever happened to the whole like humans going at the
Uh,
lichens and the vampires has been completely forgotten, I guess, or dropped.
yeah, at this point, did they exterminate all the humans? I don't know.
I'm not exactly sure with what's going on here, and that's the same that I can say about this fight scene because oh boy, one thing that we had seen previously when she fought against, I think was it Marcus or whoever the giant vampire was. That was, and we saw this in the flashbacks here. Boy, was that scene lit really nicely. Like they were not afraid to, yeah, even if there was some like maybe shoddy CG, they still like had that thing lit up and it looked really nice. This like good grief, the I don't want to say desaturation, but it's not full on this in the same year as Batman v Superman, but definitely is pretty dark at times.
Oh yes, hugely so. And I was watching this during the day, and there was some light coming in, and I kept having to turn up the brightness on my TV because I was like, oh no, I'm having struggles seeing stuff here. But here we go. Here's this guy back again. I can't remember the character's name.
David,
David. And yeah, I guess they're Celine's been on the run from him as she's trying to find her daughter, Eve, and he's been chasing her heels. Like, hey, come on, you're supposed to be our new leader. You're pretty cool, maybe, and we think that you're a badass. So why don't you come and try to help the vampire world? Even though we used to be scumbags in the previous
oh yeah,
era of this franchise.
we are scumbags, and yeah, unfortunately, they're everybody's either looking for Celine or looking for Eve, and it turns out, unfortunately, Eve got a parasite in her, and Celine's like, "Ah, you gotta go, like, do your own thing," and so she swore never to find her, basically. So we literally just she has a child, and then that's it. Like we just like get rid of her, just in case of another. Like vampire lord uprising, trying to be top dog here, and that's another thing where I was like, okay, okay, hang on, like I'm not saying being there, but like I have things to say about that, but we'll get to it.
That's how I was feeling. I was feeling a little bit like, okay, we've been here, done that. And I was like, really, they couldn't get back the Eve actress? Maybe recast her. It feels like you were going for something and just to completely drop it makes it almost feel like this is a in between entry. It's almost like, oh, we got to keep holding on to that license. So let's put out another one, and then maybe when we can get back the actress next time, we'll continue the plot forward. That's what I was thinking early on in this.
Interesting, kind of like Resident Evil Apocalypse,
Oh, I guess that's fair.
or just that one was like an in between for the next one, I suppose. I mean, we saw it, but I still haven't seen that one yet.
Or maybe you mean Extinction.
Extinction, sorry, not Apocalypse. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
again.
I get them mixed up.
Yeah, interchangeable titles. Yeah.
There you go.
Like this one could have been Blood Wars, or the last one could have been Blood Wars, I should say, considering it was all three of the groups, the humans, the Lycans, and the vampires going at it.
I guess so, but this one, I guess the title is apropos. There is blood that I guess it. I mean, it's always been a part of Blood, but Blood has always been a part of the series. So I just maybe assumed that, uh, at least looking through the whole film, yeah, it did seem like the film itself was all about blood. So I guess they stuck to that.
Yeah, and speaking of blood, we get Charles Dance here as the our kind of elder statesman vampire, returning yet again. So I mean, I guess it's kind of nice to see him. Not really, but kind of, because again, I didn't really much get much from his character last time around. I don't know. And we have the
You know,
introduction to our. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
continue.
You have the introduction to our another central vampire that we're going to spend a lot of time focused on here. Uh, Samara, is that it?
Samara, I think.
Samara. Yeah, I watched this in a little bit of a rush today, so I didn't take very many notes, and so maybe the names are escaping me at the moment. I apologize, everyone. But apparently they're losing the war. I don't know. Again, they don't really mention too much about what's going on with the humans, but it sounds like the Lycans have found a new leader and they've regrouped and they've become, yeah, a force again. And again, we're supposed to be on the side of the vampires of like, oh no, like it's too bad that this legacy of these great vampires are getting wiped out by these dogs, these Lycans. So weird turn.
One thing that you can at least appreciate, I guess, about Dance here is they didn't like have the need to have him have vampire fangs in every scene.
Yeah, no, he definitely looks better in this one. Yeah.
This is the frustrating part. So we have a a conversation between Samara and Dance here, and what I mean by frustrating is that there actually seems to be some like good acting here, at least between them. But the thing
Hmm.
is, this thing is just, again, apologies for the snappiness, but that's literally like that's what I feel with this whole movie or whatnot. Yeah, it's I don't
Yeah.
know if I think the last film was like a lot. I think it was a lot shorter, but like, man, this one just like it goes from scene to scene. I'm just like, what is going on here?
Yeah, the last one without credits would have only been about 118 minutes. We'll see, or sorry, would have been an hour and 18 minutes. My apologies. So we'll see if this one's longer. It's 90 minutes with credits. We'll see if it's also super short. But I agree. I don't get what I don't get what they were thinking. Were they nervous that even an hour and 40 minutes would have been too much? That the action fans would have been like, "Oh, we're leaving the theater. We're getting bored." Because the first movie was 2 hours. Yeah, both these two just feel like they never gave the characters or the story any time to breathe at all, and it just kind of flashes by you.
Again, they're trying to set up a lot of stuff with Samara being like, maybe she's got a different way of thinking. She was it? She used to know Craven, I believe. Well, I automatically don't trust her because Craven was a son of a gun. So why would I immediately trust this woman?
Yeah, they say that she's quite old, and before Celine was even turned to a vampire, she was kind of Victor's favorite. She was like the right hand woman. Victor Bill Nighy.
Yep, right. I forgot.
Yeah, and so she's held a grudge for Celine taking her position ever since. Oh, and here we're introducing Amelia, I guess another very high ranking elder. I wasn't fully sure on what her position was. I may have missed a little bit of dialogue somewhere. Do you remember what her significance was in terms of the elders?
Well, I mean, later on we find out what she is, but I don't recall if she was ever mentioned in the previous movies.
No, yeah, she's a new introduction. I'm pretty sure.
I see. Okay, no, another one to add. So she was never mentioned in the Rise of the Lycans. Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't believe
Oh,
so.
and then we get a quick shot of the door shutters going down, or the window shutters going down. Excuse me. That's a plot point for later.
Yeah, I did like that they have like a they have an AI set up to be like, oh, it's almost dawn. It's time for us to shut the windows. So I was like, hey, look at this. The technology is evolving too for them.
Very video game like.
Yeah, and see again, I wonder what the hell is the state of the world right now? If the Lycans completely taken over this dock, like they own it,
I thought it was a train yard.
or train yard. Yeah,
It could be a dock as well. It's just where like the section of the railroad is.
yeah. And again, we never really see human populations. We don't get the detectives running around like the last movie. Yeah, I just kind of wonder, is this? Is this a world of only lichens and vampires at this point?
I'm not too sure exactly, but again, yeah. Michael Ealy is not here for this movie, which fair enough. But like, it's I guess trying to like go back to I guess the previous movies before that. But yeah, here we are introduced to Cassius, I believe, the new leader of the Lycans, and well, maybe he's doing something for somebody, but sorry, I'm just gonna shake my head. I'm not really feeling him.
No, no, it wasn't Cassius. Where's my notes?
Oh, maybe did I say it wrong? I'm sorry, but like the current leader of the Lycans, I'm really not feeling.
No, he feels like leader of the week. He's a stand-in. Maybe he would be like a secondary villain in the Underworld TV series for half the season. But he really does not feel like he should be the big bad here. And really, they don't even play him that way necessarily. He's only like, well, oh man, it gets convoluted. the the way that they play the villains in this one.
It's definitely that, but one of the things that definitely had me, questioning this, and I don't want, I obviously don't like that. This is the thing because in the beginning, obviously we had oh, what was his, yeah, but the leader of the Lycans in the first one, good grief, he at least had he had something there. He had something going for him, and he actually, spoke of this in like a civil rights aspect and whatnot, like trying to have,
Yeah,
because Lycans were seen as slaves or whatnot, or like inferior species to the vampires. And Selene was caught up in all that. Yeah, they had their own thing going on for them. And this point, like, I'm just like, okay, what does it even mean to be Lycans anymore? Like, this whole thing was uprising
yeah.
and whatnot, and they've kind of done him dirty in a way because I kind of I at least supported that guy here. Yeah, pardon me for forgetting everybody's names, but like yeah, I'm just like shaking my head here, being like, man, I can't. I don't know. I just yeah, I can't do it anymore with this. It's like because I like the pathos that they gave those antagonists, even if they weren't antagonists and just characters themselves. But yeah, not so much here. So I was kind of disappointed on that one.
Yeah, no, there was like that subtle like political allegory of like, oh, the underclass. We even talked about how they framed them in a way as if they were like Roma, that they were never accepted in the British society, always kind of treated as these people have to move from place to place because wherever they are, people disdain them. The vampires do.
Yep, exactly.
The vampires are like the rich aristocracy. And then yeah, at this point it's just like, oh no, we want to support the vampires because they're cool, and those lichens, they don't have any class. They're not civilized. They're just barbarous. They want to come in and do brutality. It's like, oh, you kind of missed the whole point there. So yeah, a shame. But that villain, Marius, I looked it up, or Marius,
Marius.
played by Tobias Menzies. This guy's gone on to appear in a lot of stuff. He was in Game of Thrones. He had a big role on the Crown, and he did have an appearance on Doctor Who as well. So I was happy to see him for that regard. But yeah, just didn't quite pull it out. And I feel like that with a lot of this cast. I mean, I'm not gonna say that they're bad necessarily, but just some of the gravitas that I feel like was there early on, it just doesn't quite feel like it's hitting right anymore in 2016 with this entry and the last entry too.
Yeah, I mean, for one, we actually, I think we're in Prague. I think we're in the Czech Republic now. Because I think I didn't check the credits for it, but like I believe we're in Prague, so or at least we're in a European nation. And they did mention some towns, so I don't know if that's like Prague or I think they're shooting in Prague. I don't know, like again, what country it's supposed to be because they mentioned I'll go to the north later on, so that could mean anywhere. But it definitely looks a lot more and feels European than. So I'm glad they got away from Vancouver and like actually went back to the roots and said it in England, or sorry, said it in Europe somewhere.
Yeah, and we're dealing with one of the last covens. Apparently, the Marius led Lycans have wiped out almost all the covens, and now this group needs to bring in Selene to train a new era of death dealers. And some of the elders are kind of like, we don't like that. We don't like that chick. She killed Victor, and we'll never forgive her for that. But our lead, is it Semira? I forgot how you said her name.
Samara, yeah.
Samara. Sorry. yeah, she's pushing hard to, oh, we got to bring in that Celine. She's the queen of the badasses, and we need her to rub some of that off on our recruits.
So we're up to
And how do we feel about? Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead,
How do you feel about them bringing back the Theo James character here? Was it David?
David.
Yeah, were you excited to see him back, or at least pleased to see him back, or did you have any thoughts at all?
Well, they were going somewhere with it. I assume it was, I guess, a familiar face. Again, they brought over Charles Dance and him, so obviously they're carryovers from the last film to show that things are still going through. But obviously, they had a role for him to play, and I think he plays it well. Again, yeah, I think everybody plays it well in this here movie, but it's the script, man. It's either the script or the direction of how, or at least the editing as well, of just like how fast paced it is, and we got to get to the next scene.
Yeah.
We gotta like you go to like we have. It's very condensed as well. It's almost like this could have actually been maybe a bit longer, because
Oh
it just
yeah.
feels too like compact. And I'm not saying, I know you just like long movies, but I think in this case, this one actually could have like lent itself to being a little bit longer.
Oh, 100%. Could have easily been a 2-hour movie, and
Yep.
things would have felt a lot more fleshed out.
Yep. No, I agree. Like in this case, the story itself probably would have served a 2 hour movie, as we say. Right now, we're in a one of the last strongholds or safe houses. Excuse me. Again, that'll obviously be like thrown around, offhandedly, of course, as if like it means anything anymore. But like another safe house where Celine and David are, and they were initially going to get caught by lichens, but it turns out the vampires got to them first, so they make it back to go back to the Coven House.
Yeah, and during that previous scene, we got introduced to this character, Alexia, one of the new death dealers, I guess, or uh, kind of heads of the front against the Lycans. And yeah, speaking again about the length, like she plays a big part of this movie, and it just feels like they set themselves up with these two opposing villains, and yeah, neither one of them really has enough time to ever really stand out. And I kind of feel bad for that actress there. I don't know. I thought Charles Dance looked kind of silly in the vampire getup last time. This time he looks okay, but I feel like she almost has kind of a silly look to her in some way. I'm not quite sure why, but sometimes when I see her, it makes me just kind of raise an eyebrow. Like, oh, it just does not look like a part of this world from the first two movies.
And so now we get I guess, Celine, being introduced to Samara, and again, and Varga. That's right, her like her second in command, I guess, is now, yeah, being introduced and tasked with giving the or raising death dealers. And again, like, just why, like, because yeah, at this point, it's like, is Celine again with the vampire? Obviously, again, yeah. What is her? I guess we know her thoughts over this whole matter, but again, yeah, why at this point should she trust these guys?
Yeah, and in this, they make it more like she's just always been an outsider, and now she's got that daughter that she looks for, and she doesn't want to take part in the politics. But I wish that they played up more of her being like, hey, the person that I love was a hybrid of lichens, and for years you trained me to be killers of lichens, but you guys are assholes, and you shouldn't. This war isn't necessarily right. But she almost seems like completely apolitical. Like she doesn't care about that stuff at all. She's just kind of doing her own thing and just wishes people would leave her alone. Yeah, and that just again, it feels like they're wasting the history of this character. That they could do more to make her feel more I don't know, more fleshed out for this entry. I don't know.
And now we have scenes of trying to establish character with Samara, but I maybe it's good for a lot of people. Maybe people like are seeing something with her, but I don't really see anything with her, unfortunately. Not on the actress's part, but just with the writing, I guess.
Yeah, if there's one thing I did put in my notes is I always wondered why for years I'd see these movies come out and I never heard a single thing about them. I never heard if people liked them or if people thought that they were bad. It was just they came out and it was like they came out to complete silence. And watching this one today, I was like, I can kind of see it. even if I did see this at the time, I don't know if be out there on the internet being like, "Oh, they disgraced this franchise." I would probably just be like, "Oh, I saw it, and 2 weeks later, I kind of forgot it."
It just exhausts itself, excuse me, of out of with all the hot air, basically. Not hot air, but just it just that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, and I think maybe there was potential here. Like, I kind of like this strange dynamic between this Varga guy and uh, Samara. Like, there's maybe something that could be there, and he has his little turn later. Those mild spoilers for that. And I don't know. I think they're both capable actors, but yeah, there's just nothing really there to grip onto. But maybe there could have been.
I mean, it's similar to the dynamic that I think Victor had, or sorry, not Victor, Craven had with that one, I guess like mistress or whatever from the first film, who she's kind of like there with him, and then but he's being abusive towards her, and then she helps Celine in the end there. So yeah, it's kind of just this. I say that again, but it's similar to this again, but
By the way, this was the first time I laughed at the movie, and I didn't know if it was intentional. As she's just subjugating this poor guy who he just has that look of like a little bitch boy. She's like, "Oh yeah, you're my slave. Get down there and pleasure me as I speak about my plans." And I was just like, "Oh, they lingered on that a bit too much. I don't know." And again, I kind of wonder about the motivation for that guy. Later on, he's like, I promise to serve like the coven, but it's like, is there anything more to it there? Why is he like, is he into her, or is he just pleasuring her because he's like, she's the future of the coven, and I want to give her anything she asks. If she wants me to bring her some drinks, I'll do it. If she wants me to get down on my knees and do some stuff for her, I'll do it. I don't know.
or both.
Yeah,
So we just saw a scene of Marius.
yeah.
We saw a scene of Marius injecting himself with some blood vial. Having just seen this, obviously, I'm like, okay, I know what that is now. Okay, that's definitely on a second viewing. And now we have Celine training these death dealers, and again, not really buying it.
Did you like the CGI lichens that they were shooting?
It's not even just that. It's just like, really? That's all it is?
Yeah, if only they were just standing in rooms like holding lightsabers, not even moving with lightsabers, really just kind of tilting them back and forth as little
Yep.
beams blast them. Yeah, and I don't know, something about this Lycan group too. It's like they not to pick on the costume designer, but it's just like, okay, just give them hoodies and kind of brown toned clothes. That's good enough to show that they're I guess living life on the lam. But even that, like the first movie, it felt like they were kind of filthy, like they were scraping by living in sewers, and they had that touch to them. This time, it just feels like they're not even having any sort of inspiration with the costuming, and it feels like that across the board. Like there was just a lack of inspiration for this one. It was just kind of okay. Let's put out the next one. It's has like an obligation feel to it to some degree.
Yeah, we have a idea for the next movie, but we gotta like use this movie first to get to that next movie. It's like, uh, okay, why not just like is it so important to tell it? But that's another problem where it's like the end fight. Not to immediately go there, but it had me thinking like, okay, who's who on like whose side's on who basically? Like, who am I looking at here?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll get to that. I did actually like this moment though when this Varga guy he's getting at first I thought it was just his smugness. He was like, "Oh, she's taking my role. She's acting like a badass. I'll show her who's boss." And I like that she just kind of beats him up. And then his betrayal, uh, kind of pulling out a blade that she didn't expect and poisoning her. I just kind of like that moment for some reason.
Interesting.
It just kind of served me well to some degree.
Did you like them fighting along the wall?
No, no. I was like, what is it? What are these physics? Like, what's going on here?
I mean, I think if it was the 2000s, it would have made sense and it would have been like really appropriate in that era. But for 2016, maybe maybe they would have done something a little bit different.
Yeah, I think part of the thing I liked about this actually, it was reminding me a little bit of Dune, the novel. There's a part where Fade Ralph, a Harkonnen, that's one of his tricks that he like when he's out in the arenas fighting slaves, he'll like have a secret blade that he pulls out and poisons them, and then kind of parade around displaying like, oh, look what this poison does. And it was this guy was making me think of that during this moment when he
Uh huh.
explains to all these people of like, hey, you can't trust that the person you're fighting is going to be honorable. Look at what my poison's done to her. So maybe that's why I liked it a little bit.
Unrelated, unrelated segue to a trailer for or us promoting Dune Part Two.
Yeah, and spoilers. I wish that the Fade route had looked more like this than they are doing in those movies. I don't know why
Interesting.
they make the Arcanins look like that.
No, that's still the case. But yeah, it turns out there's betrayal. Apparently, Samara is doesn't like Celine.
This was a turn that when it happened, like her not liking Celine because she killed Victor. Okay, that's understandable. But this, okay, let's just murder all these recruits in the slow motion and the CGI blood effects. I was just kind of like, oh,
So Charles Dance was a part of, I don't know if it was this season that had happened, but it was a part of, he was part of Game of Thrones. They had that whole like red wedding sequence that everybody is so like proud of or whatever.
oh my gosh.
And it's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
oof.
we're doing it ourselves. Like audience members have never seen that before. And it's like, sorry if I seem so, like diminutive of this. It's just like, yeah, I can't wait to I guess this makes me appreciate the first film a little more.
Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't escape feeling like this was some sort of obligatory sequel. It felt like there was nothing like those first two movies, especially the second one. I felt like they were excited about the premise that they had, and maybe they were fans of that. Was it Vampire the Masquerade? That thing that people were saying they ripped off. I feel like they had some inspiration and some like of the genre they were working in. This one just feels like maybe they got like a workman filmmaker. Although I guess this was the first female director on the series.
Yep.
I don't really know if she'd done much else. Maybe I'll quickly look and see if she'd done anything else. But she didn't seem like she found her inspiration or desire to really get much out of this story. It yeah, it just feels yeah, very flat. I don't know.
Hopefully, there's no hand up the rear. That would be kind of rude there, but nothing wouldn't be out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like yeah, it looks like this was her first film that she directed. So maybe it was just an experience. Yeah.
Who knows? This scene now. So after Samira's pinning all the blame of the deaths of the new recruits on Celine, somehow, like
Just because of her guns.
I guess they don't perform any like not just autopsy, but they don't perform any like blueprint or fingerprint analysis on the guns. Just take them at like face value. Okay, whatever. Apparently, yeah. Both David and his dad, I forget his dad's name, have found Celine's body, hidden somewhere, and yeah, they're freeing her as she's being like sucked dry of her blood. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess they wouldn't bother investigating too much because they already dislike and distrust her, and they're like, "Oh, these are her guns. Case closed."
Except for the fact that apparently like the elder here is like, oh, well, this was all on you, Samara. So this, yeah, you are, all these deaths are respond like on your head. It's like, well,
Yeah,
did she foresee that or what?
yeah. Well, I guess she was just so driven with her hatred for her that she was like, "Okay, I'll just yeah do this and hope for the best." And I guess later on, it seems like whatever this like the death dealer, like maybe she's like in charge of their military, and because when she turns on the council later on, all the folks with the guns are right there to back up her play. So maybe she's not too worried about what the elders have to say at this point.
Again, she's going to issue a coup.
Oh, and here we get this. So, David, you need to go north, far north, to this secret coven.
That we've never heard of before till now. Lovely.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's during this scene where they like describe them as like hippies who removed themselves from the order. And I was like, oh no, what is this gonna look like when we get to see them?
You know what I was actually kind of hoping for with that? Well, okay, I'll save it for a bit. So now we have a fight scene between David's dad and Varga and Samira, and Charles Dance dies. Oh boy. And yeah, no, she's like gloating and being all smug. That's what the other antagonists, or at least before in the first two, didn't have smugness. I mean, maybe there was
Yeah.
some with Bill Nighy, but I don't know. It felt justified and earned.
Yeah, and he was more smug in the third one with Lucian. The first one, he was more like angry, like, what's all this shenanigans going on?
Thank you. That's who it was. Lucian. Thank you. There we go.
You know, I like this too. I don't know if it's really a reveal that David can be in the sun now, but it's at least a reveal for the villain. And she's like, oh crap, this changes the stakes. Like, how can they walk in the sun?
It definitely does. And there was and we just saw that she also got like almost burnt, or at least burnt by like the reflection of the glass, but or from a mirror, excuse me. But yeah, that was at least set up that in one of the expositions with Samira, it turns out that yeah, when Celine brought David back from the dead with was it Corvinus's blood,
Yeah.
turns out yeah, she can do that, but also she can, which makes me wonder why she doesn't just do that with a lot of vampires or whatever. But also makes me wonder why, or wait, oh yeah, no, it makes me, or I find it fascinating that she's able to transfer that blood into David, and that's how he's able to become a daywalker like she.
Yeah. Now he too is the future. So,
Whatever that means, because I'm a little annoyed at what we're gonna do a
yeah.
bit later, but again, whatever.
Oh
It
no.
is for what it is. And just now, once again, for those who have a sucking blood fetish or biting fetish, like yeah, we get the trademark of here, take some of my blood, and they bite their wrist and then here start sucking me off.
Yeah, if you're into people drinking blood and sucking on other people, yeah, high recommend for this feature in this whole franchise for you.
It tastes a little irony. I'm good.
But yeah, more flashbacks and yeah, okay. Again, calling back to movies that I liked more in this one. But yeah, here we're setting up the pathos of oh no, my daughter's lost and ah, were you feeling much there? Were you missing that character Eve? Did you wish that she would have come back for this one?
Again, I really didn't feel like that. That would have been a compelling character for me in the previous one, but like I said, I still feel this. I really didn't get much from that relationship. I was like, I would
No.
have like this would have probably run me over at one point, but not really. And it's kind of funny as well, where we're hunting for like a character. Like both sides are like, we need to get either Celine or we need to get like we need to go after what's her name? We have to go after Eve because we need the hybrid. We need to go after Michael. We have to find these people. It's like golly, what is this like going after? I mean, they had this obviously in the previous film, but if nobody had seen the previous film, you would have sworn that this film was just aping off of The Force Awakens.
It does become even more like an in-between episode when the whole plot of this one is, oh, we don't believe you, Celine, when you say that you don't know where your daughter is. Just tell us where she is. Until eventually realize, oh, she doesn't know either, and no one knows. And the movie ends.
She literally doesn't. Except for that like lock of hair and strand that she has that could also be used to like detect where it is. But and right here now we have Samira. She took a bunch of she was draining Selena for blood, and it seems as though she wants to use it for experiments. But unfortunately, because Varga put all that nightshade into her, or at least a bit of nightshade into her, that's what's I guess her blood has been tainted, so now she has to basically dilute and separate the two from each other.
Yeah, see, look at this Alexa, or Alexia. I don't know. It looks like maybe she has like a wig or something, and that's what's distracting to me. Something about her hair just looks kind of off to me in some strange way. But I've seen this actress quite a bit. She went on to be in the Netflix series Shadow and Bone. Not a great series, by the way. I abandoned that. Uh,
Oh, yeah, isn't that other young adult film that was like a movie first, and then like when that flopped, it then went to a few years. They waited a few years and then went to Netflix for a series.
no, I don't think that had ever been previously adapted. I don't think.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of something else. Whoops, sorry.
Yeah, my partner is a big fan of the books, and yeah, we watched the first season, and then we, yeah, quit after like maybe like 3 episodes of the second season. It was just so they completely lost the plot, but she was in it, and yeah, so there you go. I was like, oh, I didn't realize she was acting this early.
And this is a terrible, not terrible, but this I find this part disappointing just because Samara clearly says I will be more powerful than Cassius. Great writing, of course, but what like frustrates me is that spoilers, they don't even ever like meet each other. Like, they don't even get like by the end of the movie when we had that fight scene. I was really hoping that we were gonna have like a three-way fight scene between Samaria, Cassius, and Celine. I don't know why, but just like kind of like the end of Pirates of the Caribbean 2. Like where it's just like what is everybody fighting for? Exactly.
Oh yeah, Marius. Cassius is the older vampire that she's not getting along with, who's like the
Okay, well, forget that, but I still was hoping that like the three of them would like, fight each other.
oh 100%. There's even a scene when they like look at each other, or maybe he looks at David, and then he leaves. Marius leaves the scene, and then she jumps in and fights David.
Yep. No, thank you. You're right. Yeah.
And I was like, what a wasted bit of potential there.
Yeah, no. So I was a little bit like, what the heck? And then I thought this was in this scene we see Alexia uh, infiltrating the Lycan stronghold. Interesting.
Yeah, well, it would be interesting if it didn't turn out that she's a part of them, and we get this relationship that feels so underdeveloped that I don't even know what to think about it. Like, when did they team up? What goal are they? What goal is she working for? Is she against the vampires? Does she want to end the war to create peace between the two groups, or is it just because she's into this guy? I don't know.
Now, I wonder. So you remember that underling that Celine had shot in the foot and told, hey, go tell Marius, tell him that I don't know anything about where my daughter is. You remember him?
Yep, yep.
If her and him were together instead of with Marius, and they were trying to, uh, you know, literally separate and like cohabitize, almost like coexist with each other as species. And then Celine picked up on this. I think that would be like a cool plot point to explore, where she's like, "All right, you know what? Since Michael, even though he's a hybrid, um, at least if he did start off as a werewolf, um, you know, like him and I kind of like at least bonded as vampire and werewolf. Then it's possible." So she would have seen this like, okay,
Hmm.
let's try cohabitation between each other instead of like fighting blood wars. And like by the end of the movie, the whole blood wars, it ends in like, all right, so we've kind of like culled all the old old thinkers or whatnot, or everybody who used to be part of the generation that like hate each other, and now we're gonna like introduce a whole, even those like like those death dealers, had they not killed them off, oh my goodness, they could have just used them as like a new way of thinking and approach to like, let's do cohabitation and coexistence instead of all this bloodshed. And you see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, yeah. We were talking about that too. Of like maybe if they hadn't made her this apolitical, she only cares about her daughter. They could have kept up those kept up some sort of depth and discussion of what this war is all about and who's the real bad guys. I mean, maybe at this point there is no bad guys. It's just a war that'll never end.
Yeah.
But the vampires were the aggressors. I mean, they're maybe the ones that need to strive for peace.
Oh yeah, no, that's well, or that, or just like keel over and go die in a grave.
Well, they're already dead.
That too. They are already dead. Or another thing. No, I should be, saying the context here. We have Celine and David using knives to quickly, like Goomba jump up into up this waterfall. It looks pretty cool. We can see the aurora borealis there into this ice. But
Yeah.
so this part right here, this part, I was really hoping that this would have been the castle from Rise of the Lycans.
Oh, that would have been cool. Yeah.
That would have been really cool mythos, and also if like with this peacekeepers, whatever you want to call it, this coven, of like free thinkers, or again whatever we want to call them now. That would have been like interesting, not symmetry, but whatever you want to call it, like whatever literary device you would call it, where it's just like that there was a lot of bloodshed in that. There was like lording over, or again, here's my other thing of like, what if Eve, because she was, because she's both like a mix of vampire and lycan, or like something new unto itself. What if she was the instigator behind, like where her mom is like, okay, well, I don't want anything to do with her. What if she was the one that was starting this new like idea up of like, vampires and Lycans working together and being like, again, coexistence. And then this was the castle where Eve is, and you see both vampires and Lycans getting along.
Yeah, that would have explained why they were kind of the outsiders in amongst the vampires, and why, yeah, why also with what's his name, Marius was like, oh, we can't attack this place unless we have the hybrid blood. It's too powerful for us. Instead, what we get is, yeah, I don't really know what to think about all this stuff. This is broaching into fantasy territory more than I would have expected
Yeah.
from this franchise.
Yeah, so at least one thing I'll give these guys, one thing I can at least like give a positive to with this coven, this eastern, or this, sorry, this northern coven. Again, the dialogue is, the scenes are going by so quickly, and the
Yeah.
exposition, especially with this guy. Nothing on, I like the actor, but just with the exposition that he gives, oh yeah, yeah, it just feels like pure exposition.
Oh, it does. A lot of the characters that we meet at this point in the movie don't feel like they're real characters. They do just feel like they're pushing forward the plot. Like that, is it Lena? Lena?
Yeah, whatever her name is.
Like it almost feels like they're establishing her as, if they're going to make a sequel, like she would come back and be part of the new crew,
Mm-hmm.
and she clearly has an impact on Celine. I don't really know anything about that character at all. I don't really know if the actress is giving much performance. It just feels like almost everything that she says is just exposition. It's like, oh man, that's
Yeah, she's a NPC to give, set up for something that'll be followed up upon later on.
perfect. Yeah, exactly. NPC, 100%.
And so here, the leader of this clan is given the whole spiel to David about his birthright. That apparently there's more to him than we actually think, and that he is an heir to the vampire. Why do I care?
Yeah, and this whole, oh, this sword of yours, it's a lichen killer. They all just cower at the sight of it. Except we never see any of them having really any reaction to it at all, really.
Nope, nope. This is, yeah. This is not. What's a good sword that people cower towards? I guess what was Frodo's sword in Lord of the Rings?
Oh yeah, the one that would like make the orcs, or maybe it wasn't Frodo's. I can't remember who had it.
No, 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 no. Because that one just lit up when what presence drew near it with glow. I don't remember exactly, but there's something that like was bane to something, to some like species, or whatever.
Oh
Where it was like,
yeah, I think it was in The Hobbit. It would make the goblins cower, like
oh, okay, there. Sorry, yeah, forgive me.
Gall Crusher or something. I can't remember the name of it, but it like terrified them.
If you're a Witcher fan, like you immediately think of silver swords.
Yeah, you'd think that it would have more of an impact. He even during most of the fight scene near the end, just has it on his back for most of it. It's like pull that fucking thing out, shine it right in the light, and make all those lichens cower in fear. That would have been something, but it's just
It's like
a
that sword.
just a meaningless prop. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's just like that. Yeah, sorry. It's like that sort of adamantine, or whatever the flip that thing was called in Blood of Zeus, where it like, is built up as like, oh, this is an important sword to you, and then it literally just gets tossed out by the very end, and it's never used by the main protagonist. Sorry, still have So some like bad blood with that film or with that TV series. But anyway, yeah, now we get a scene
Yeah.
of Celine, you know, trying to prove to David, hey, you are the rightful heir to lead a coven.
Because he's pure blood. Oh, no wonder your parents protect you so much. A pure-blooded person, of course, is destined to lead. It's like, oh no. Now she's right in line with the rest of the aristocracy. And it's just I thought that she'd moved away from that.
See, at least if what they're trying to do is use like, okay, so David is her in. If I could maybe see where they're going with this here, where it's like she sees David as her in to at least maybe change the way of vampires somehow, unless she, gave up on that for pit's sakes. But like maybe, but I don't know if they go with it that way. And then we get into this part here where she walks into this like room with the pool of water, and we see this like blonde haired lady. And again, that's the other thing I like how distinct they are, where they're all dressed in white as opposed to everyone else who is dressed in black. So it's like, okay, at least they stand out from like what everybody like both clans are wearing.
Yeah, and one of the most uh like why throw in that nude scene where we see the woman's breast just very briefly? It was just like you'd have to be looking specifically there to even see it, really. So I guess that's a comment on me. But I was like, oh, at first I thought this was like a PG-13, but I guess there's been gore. But there's never really been much swearing in this or anything like that. It could have skated by.
Well, until the end.
That's fair. That's fair.
Well, but they do only get one, so they used it at that point. And oh, there's gore right at the very end. But turns out, yeah, as you mentioned earlier, the distinct difference that this coven has between the others is that they're a little bit more spiritual. Well, faux spiritual, of course, pseudo spiritual. They say that, but they don't really go into it other than like we are caught between a state of life and death.
Yeah, which is an interesting place to go with vampires that they can be in a way like a ghost is because they're undead, but they're yeah attached to the real world still. I just don't really feel like the way that they introduce this doesn't really feel natural, and their whole like spirit water, spirit pond in the sacred world, as they just said. I don't know. It feels kind of alien to the rest of what we've seen so far. Like this was kind of like a more like, oh, let's look at the scientific cause between vampires and lichens. It was like this virus that mutated. To now throw in this sacred world and you could be like a ghost person. It feels like, oh, we're abandoning that science element and we're doing something completely different now. And that's just a bit weird.
Now, this flashback with Amelia, was that in the third one at all? Like, I feel like I recognize the actor, but maybe I'm just like, tripping complete balls because I don't remember that at all.
I recognize that too. I feel like that may have been the second one during the flashback to the old days in that one. But
Interesting.
I don't know if they ever said the character's name was Amelia. Maybe they did, but it was just so minor that we didn't
Yeah.
notice.
Then they literally the writers are just like, oh, let's use her as a means to, I guess, give importance to this character later on, in the movie now. Excuse
Yeah.
me. But with the okay, the Lycans are about to attack. They've showed up and they're about to attack and I guess take Celine and or David. I guess yeah, Celine because again, Marius um wants Celine's information where on the whereabouts of her daughter. But yeah, the scene with like her talking to Leanne or Lean, whatever her name is, regarding like the spiritualism of vampires. It's yeah, you're right. It's kind of making them go more closer to the mythological side of vampires and like vampires can either turn to dust or they can move quickly through their environment like a ghost almost or into a swarm of bats. So again, I don't know if that was like a tell of like, okay, we're gonna slowly move away from the scientific and move towards like fantasy.
Yeah, and just to address the runtime at this point, we've probably only been with this little unique group of vampires as Coven for maybe like under 10 minutes, I would say. And at under an hour, it feels like we're jumping into the third act at this point. And it's like, wow, this is crazy. how this thing is just moving.
Again, yeah, just no time. We have to meet a quota. We have to keep moving to the next scene, or else we're gonna run out of time. Let the scene breathe. I would have actually loved to
Yeah.
spend more time with these guys and actually change the attitude of Celine and or maybe or David as well. Like I, and that's like, and then here's a scene of Leanne. I guess I'm apologies if I'm getting her name
Lena or Lena?
Elena, whatever, yeah, whatever her name is. Basically, yeah, wisping away like around all these guys. Like she has quick dash, kind of like Siri in Witcher 3. Actually, now that I think about it. Oh, and now the you know lichens turn into lichens as they are so
Oh
called
God.
happily taught. What do you think of the CGI by this point? By the way,
Oh, I think the transformations are kind of ugly now. But I just kept wondering throughout, like, why are the Lycans even bothering with the shields and running around, acting as if they're warriors? Why not just turn right into the Lycan beasts and strike that way? Why even bother with their human form? I don't know. Maybe it's just to save on budget. That could be it.
well, that's definitely true.
Hey, we get some martial arts there. What'd you think? Did they cut it okay with his grappling there?
I mean, it looked fine. I wish it was, a little bit more in the light, but
Yeah.
again, I don't know if that's to like cover all the CGI. I mean, I think it looks fine. Like, other than it being like, pitch black, it's still
Yeah.
like I at least appreciate that they still are using the designs from like that first film.
Yeah, I think they were still using a cheaper form of digital photography, and when there's a lot of movement going on, I feel like you can just tell that it's digital with a lot of the movement. At least I can. But it's definitely a step up from the last one, I would say. And they're still using practical effects with some of these lichen props, and that works. I still think they look okay.
Slow motion, slow
Oh,
motion.
split them in two. Look at those guts. Ugh.
Hmm. Um, I mean, yeah. So in comparison, again, these are mid budgets. So in comparison to the triple budget at this point of Rogue One and Civil War, like yeah, no, they definitely got that over their triple or the other triple budget like films.
Yeah, and by the way, what the hell even happened here? I thought Maris was like, oh, we can't dare attack that Eastern Coven without the blood of the hybrid. And then they just show up with guns. They're not even in their most powerful form. They're just shooting folks. It's like, oh, okay. I guess they just need to get to the climax. That's what it is.
Yeah. So now it's Maris and Selena are going at it, and yeah, just chase ensues, and are just like a brawl. And again, I'm just like now I understand what's going on here, but I'm still just like, yeah, why initially like why is she being like why is she getting up pounded, or at least how come she's getting beaten up by Maris? Like, isn't she again supposed to be the future, whatever that means?
Yeah, now he's the new future. I guess they're semi combining some science stuff, but I guess we'll get to there. I'm jumping ahead too quick.
Yeah, no, I mean we've been jumping all over here and there,
Yeah.
but at least in this case they've given a was it? I also yeah they given a what was it called a separated the two by having Cassius or not Cassius Mary, excuse me, push him out of the castle and into the I guess the frozen tundra. And I like that he well not like, but it's interesting that he keeps throwing the sword away, just so that she doesn't have a weapon. And I get why now.
Yeah. Yeah, because all he wants is information. He's not interested in killing her. Although, I guess he couldn't drink her blood and find out. He'd have to wait for a vampire to be able to do that. Because I kept wondering that. Why doesn't he just taste her blood? But I don't think the Lycans can do that.
Well, that's the thing though, because with the reveal of what's really going on, because he's what he's also is literally you figured out is I thought he was gonna
Yeah.
like land on that
Yeah.
sword as well, but that was not the case. And then I'd be like, okay, well, I guess we're just gonna go now take out Samaria, but that's not the case here. So once again, we have another abomination of a form. I guess it's a lichen-ish form. Pardon me for my jumbled speech there, but like I'm not exactly sure what you would call it, but it's a lot different than the mega lichen from the last film.
Yeah, this one's like a hybrid, but instead of the split being right down the middle, it's like 70-30 human lichen hybrid.
Exactly. I can't help but just laugh at this shot.
The
Of
spinning
just her
around.
like sliding. Yeah, her sliding and then grabbing the sword and like that would be cool somewhere else, but I really I don't know. I just couldn't take it real seriously.
No, no. And the effects with him are okay, like they look all right, but
I'm surprised you're that forgiving of it. I thought you would be a lot more like nope, I don't agree.
I mean it's super cartoony. But it's tolerable, I think. I don't know. Maybe I was just trying to be nice to it.
That's fair. But what I was, a little bit confused by, or was, because of the nature that is revealed later on, if I could, be a little bit cryptic, with the matter of his transformation, do you think that he wouldn't be able to, with that nature, be able to drink the blood?
Well, now that you say that, yeah. But before I didn't know, and so I was just like, oh, can lichens do that with the blood? But yeah, at this point he probably should be able to, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, here we go.
Of course, this is like a red herring, I suppose.
More flashbacks. I think this is the third or fourth time that we've gone to flashbacks at this point.
There we go. And again, she clearly Alexius clearly saw the strand of hair. That should be a tell. I'm like, well, if they're I'm not saying dogs, but if they're similar to wolves, wouldn't they not have like a good keen sense of tracking? Couldn't they just use that strand of hair? Unless Alexia was like hiding it from like hiding the truth there from Marius.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. But this is another moment where I laughed, where we keep seeing the shots of the lichens jumping down and running away,
Yep.
and they just keep repeating the same effect. Like it's the exact same. And I was like, oh no. But I was thinking like, because it seems like they really do kill Celine here, and I was like, oh, this. It seems like maybe they killed her a little bit easier than I would have expected.
That's the thing where I was like, okay, like I feel like her survivability instincts are just like her. Again, maybe I'm bringing in too much outsider information on like what. Not talking like vampire lore, but I feel like if again she's deemed as the future, I feel like she'd have a lot more harder time like being killed.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell, is she drowning? Is she freezing to death? I was like, I thought vampires are pretty much unkillable unless it's with sunlight, or was it silver, or maybe it was nightshade. I don't know.
Silver night, yeah, nightshade or silver nitrate of some sort.
Yeah, I guess maybe the blade. Yeah, maybe that did it for her getting stabbed with that.
So I thought full moon, by the way. So I immediately thought, oh, is she gonna like freeze herself in carbonite and then like wake up 1,000 years later or something like that?
And even though that battle, yeah, just happened, this woman still managed to find her body, and I guess we saw them find her. Yeah, but they managed to send her over to the other side.
Or in the process of sending her to the other side to become uh
A dye-brid. I don't know.
that are future or what's beyond the future.
The future and the past in one. The pasture.
A pastor. Oh, jeez. I mean, maybe that's not a bad idea. Where she'll like sanctify a bunch of water and kill all the vampires.
There's a little twink boy in the background. He's already half undressed, waiting after she gets really stoned from the blood.
I gotta give the actor this. She had to like pound all that blood back. It's not blood, obviously, but it's just like good for her. Like, acted all right. I don't like the character, but like for the actor, it's like fair enough.
Oh, she's done fine. Yeah, and I like her costumes and her hair. I think that they made her look good. It's just, yeah, the character that's completely lacking.
Um, so now I guess she's got a bit of the future in her.
Yeah, this I just could not understand what the hell they were doing with it. Maybe you have some explanation. What, like, is she being superpowered? It doesn't really ever seem to play out like that. I couldn't tell what the benefit of it was.
Yeah, well, at first off, I thought it'd be more of an infusion rather than just straight up drinking. I guess you ingest it, like you'll eventually absorb it into your own bloodstream, but I'm still thinking like, okay, come on, seriously, like just inject it with yourself. Because now I get the whole like theme. It's supposed to be like, okay, so Samara's taking the blood of Celine, who's the future, which means nothing at all because she got axed by Marius there. I know why now. And then Marius is also saying, "We need the hybrid. We need the hybrid." It's like, why does everybody need all the blood again? Like I'm saying, this is like,
Yeah.
it's not the only thing, but it's reminding me of the Force Awakens with the whole, what do you call it? With we need to find the map to Skywalker and what girl? We need the girl alive. Like, what?
Yeah, it is 100% that. It makes it, like I said, just feel so slight. Like what is even the whole conflict here is, oh, we just need to find this Eve girl who we never actually really seen the By the way, I love her wardrobe when she has that outfit, the main villain, where it's just all like strings that are barely tied together. And yeah, I just think it's a funny outfit. Every time she's in it, it makes me giggle a little bit. Like that thing's got to be super cold for the actress.
That's true. Kind of reminds me of. I mean, obviously, I think it did better, but it reminds me of in Suspiria remake of them wearing the those red strings at the end.
Oh yeah, yeah, I can see that.
Of course, not fully. Not no, not in the same way. Of course.
And here we discover that Samaria is more. She wasn't being as fooled by her second in command here, or whatever she is, Alexia. She realized all along that she's been sleeping with that little pup boy.
She read the script.
Yeah, she read the script.
Not the one behind her. She means Marius.
Yeah, maybe she kissed her before, and one time she bit her hard enough to get a little bit of blood. And she's like, "Hey, wait a minute! Now I see that she's a betrayer."
Potentially, I guess. I'm not really sure, but
Well, nothing's explained here, so we just have to accept. I guess she's got other spies around. And here's her departing the movie, which I guess she just slit her throat.
yeah,
Again, it seems like the vampires can die real easy these days.
it's whatever the script or it's whatever the story needs them to happen.
Yeah, pretty much.
They can shrug out like certain flesh wounds, but if it's, I guess, like significant enough, they'll like heal over.
Yeah, even though it seemed like Victor and the elders could dehydrate themselves and get all their blood removed, they could just sit in storage for years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here's her betraying. Okay, you cancel. You don't necessarily like my moves going forward. You guys are too weak. Me, the head of the military, whatever I am. Yeah, you're being relieved, and I'm the new dictator. Yeah, until old sword boy David shows up with his. I guess he's on his own. She's like, I'm here to overturn this thing. Samira, you're getting screwed.
Sorry, I just had a moment of pause, like not pause. I was like, I wasn't like muted or anything like that. I had a second of just like, wait, is this a lot like Castlevania season two?
Oh, explain. Maybe they ripped it off.
I'm really thinking hard. I think because no, certainly not. No, I know that, but I'm just thinking. Okay, so we have, I guess, the greatest written character ever, Camilla, in that. Um, Not obviously word for word here, but like she's plotting to overtake from Dracula all his forces because she hates leaders, which makes sense for her. And she's trying to turn everybody against Dracula. I guess that's something. No, never mind. Not in this case. But there's a point where she issues a coup, slowly, of course, but doesn't happen in this, I guess. So yeah, never mind. Sorry, that was just a thought process I had of just like, is this like that? No, of course not. This is just again them trying to be like, oh yeah, we have a coup.
Oh God, here we go. He's the So I kind of like the prop that David's got that is Amelia left him. This little orb that has his ring and then a bunch of vials of her blood. And so the elders all taste it and they're like, "Oh, it's true. He's the last of the purebloods. He automatically has to lead us." So I guess he's going to be their new god king. And and I guess that's what makes Vargas turn, or Varga. He's like, "Oh, a new god king's here. He the leader. So I'm betraying you, and I'm turned to the side of good."
Well,
I don't know.
good, whatever that means.
Yeah, exactly. Gag her.
Because at this because at this point I just went, why, like, what do I care? Maybe I care about David, but why do I care about any of these other vampires?
Yeah, or that this whole, oh, we need to make sure the purebloods are still around. Like, really? Are they wanting us to be like, oh, we can't believe it, a pureblood? That's so great. It's it's like it's so far removed from the stuff that at least me and you were interested in with those original ones. It's just, ugh.
Yeah, because again, I felt like, yeah, like I said, I'm not to reiterate, I feel like, again, like what Lucian had. Lucian was just like his, like, if I wish that, Marius had some, was spouting some of Lucian's rhetoric and or his beliefs and his philosophies over this, and that's like that'd be at least something. Like he was a follower, or somebody was, but in this case, that is not the case anymore. And so I don't know what Marius like wants with, like, other than the extermination of the vampires, because there are predators or there are preys, whatever you want to call it. They're a natural enemy, so we have to just go after them. And it's more animalistic than anything.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely a disappointing way to end this series. I came in with greater hopes for this movie because last one I was like, oh, it was weak, but there was potential for them to improve it. And almost immediately when I saw the runtime and I was like, oh, it's another 90-minute entry, I was like, oh no, I'm hopeful that this will, or I'm more skeptical now that this is going to be able to pull it out, and yeah, it didn't.
Shake my head. And again, at this point as well, like, sure, maybe you can see a bit of a difference, but again, between, like, I guess whoever side is on who, all of them look pretty much the same. Like they're wearing the
Yeah,
exact same attire.
yeah, maybe the lichens are a little bit more brown, but that's about it.
Jeez,
Oh no, he's using a guy as a meat shield.
Marius, like that's well, it shows you how much of a son of a gun he is.
Yeah, for what reason? Doesn't even care about his own men. Is that a part of his character? I don't know. Does he have much of a character, or is he just stand-in bad guy for this entry?
I mean, maybe he has more to do than the you know, last episode, or that, yeah, last episode, the last movie had with their, like, Lycan antagonists.
Yeah, at least there was like creepy scientists who weren't even initially lichens. They were just like, "Oh, we can be so powerful. Let's try to use this war for our own benefit." So at least that's, even though it was underdeveloped there too, is like, okay, at least that's something a little bit different. This does kind of just feel like a Lucian clone without any of the pathos.
Yeah, no, it's just like he's more violent, and it would have been funny, not funny. It would have been interesting if he had ruled more like with bloodshed, where he again acts more like a, well, where Lucian was never, he was not like, he saw everybody as comrades and or at least as equals. This would have been interesting if Marius was a lot more like dominant, if that makes sense, where he was much more like, I am like the alpha, and not to go into any of those, like, jokes on the internet, but just like, no, like literally he sees himself as the alpha, so he like beats everybody into submission.
Yeah,
Of like, that's how I rule with an iron fist.
that might have been something. Yeah, I like that moment when they first open up the window, and it's not even like a slow motion shot. It was like a still frame as they just pull out, and everyone's not moving. And then once they get the motion going again, they quickly do it, and you see people just like evaporating into smoke. Oh, that was kind of funny.
This is where I went, okay, wait, couldn't they have just like planted explosives all along the window? I know that probably would have been tedious, but they would have just like planted explosives all along the windows, as like in their lichen form, and then just like blow them all up and then go in and like
Yeah,
seize them afterwards. But whatever.
I do like that of Marius, his look of like, what the hell? That guy is he's not getting burned.
He's a daywalker.
Yeah, that was kind of something. Yeah.
And this is so, like, I'm sorry, I don't agree with this. Where both of
Oh,
them
I
are
was
shooting,
laughing.
both of them are shooting each other, and they're like just taking it all. Like, what the fudge?
Yeah, what even was that? I was definitely in this too. Let's all shoot out our bullets and show how tough we are. I can do it too. I was definitely being the laughter a lot. No, I gotta protect my god king. I'll die for him, Varga.
And then,
More laughter.
and then the Flash shows up
And of course, yeah, Celine, the ghost version, she shows up in her usual outfit, even though we saw her nude last time. But she also has on this coat, I guess, for some reason
with mink on it.
with mink. Like, why'd she throw that on? And
Uh,
she's got her hair like half turned to the other people. Like, why is it only half?
this literally feels like a video game where she like, oh, the she was depowered or something like that, or the plot like didn't her powers weren't strong enough, so it's time to go to a new region and unlock a new power.
Yeah, no, it's like the power through hair.
And okay, here I'll give them this, like turn of the tide. In comes the Nordic coven. At least they're wearing white. At least it differentiates, like from all the other players of the piece right now.
Yep, yep.
And I'll say this: I like the fact that they're wearing armor. So even if there is some like, okay, they're still like shooting, it's like I'll give them that they're at least protected. So oh, wait, no, sorry, I forgot. If you're protected, then that means that you're instantly gonna die.
Yeah, the only thing is it does feel like the Lycans at this point like have just become they become so devalued as villains. They seem like they have no impact. Everywhere they go, they're just pile of bodies. Like, I don't know. Oh, here comes the big conflict. Marius, he's like, okay, I'm gonna leave this battle. It's time for the big boss fight. So let me just chase after Celine. I guess she's running off somewhere. I guess to go kill this lady, probably.
Now we cut over. Well, no, no. Marius is going after Celine. But
Yeah.
do you mean David's going after? Because I know we just saw, um, uh, Samara just, I guess, gloating and looking at her, like looking fabulous in the mirror.
Well, I thought that's maybe where Celine was going to go get her, but maybe it was just to distract Marius. Yeah, look at this. It's like they tease us. Marius even looks over at David like, "Oh, okay, should I go fight you? I'll just walk out of frame," and that's when Samara shows up. It really, yeah, wasted potential. So much of this,
And again,
and
yeah, go ahead.
Marius never even reacts to the fact that his love interest Alexia is dead. I don't think he ever even knows.
Nope. So there goes his sword, and he's not going to see it again for a while.
Yeah,
It's in the same place. Actually, no, it'll show up in the end.
and he only pulled it out to fight another vampire. He didn't pull it out the minute he saw the Lycans to be like, "Look what I've got," and they all just cry like babies.
Nothing on the plot whatsoever. Celine herself, no, she's the one that's important, man. She's the one that'll like she has the important like turn of powers.
Yeah, this is a flash forward for our Resident Evil series. This is the first appearance of yeah, this kind of power, which we'll eventually see
Oh golly.
in a certain very frustrating boss battle and a very hilarious moment in movie.
I will say this part right here though, when they're inside like the weapons locker, that would have if I wouldn't have minded this if it had gone longer, where she just keeps like, as ridiculous as it sounds, just keeps like shooting at him with like all the weapons on the wall. That would have been funny.
Yeah, they're all loaded. Yeah.
But again, I think it's at this point where then she, tastes the blood, not just the awesome song, but like she tastes the blood and gets a flashback to, yeah, a scene that had happened.
A flashback, you say? Wow, we haven't seen any of those in this movie yet.
No, no, certainly not. Oof. Okay, well, but I definitely do like the fact that now this, well, I like it, but it's interesting that they go with the where they go with this fight scene with, I mean, Celine, I mean, uh, where that's going with this,
Oh,
but yeah, this part though is
I love that he sees two daggers on the ground, throws it, I'm assuming at her to stab her, and she leaps in the air and catches them both by the handles and has them pointed at him. Oh boy, that had me in gales of laughter.
Yikes! The amount of cuts that there was more cuts on this than any of the lichens or vampires in this movie combined.
Yeah, these two, their action scene is the most hilarious part of this movie. I think it's just so silly.
And I'll say this, I guess I like David just because I guess I like Theo Vaughn. It seems like he's trying.
Yeah, no, he even though his character isn't much, yeah, I feel like he earned his place a little bit more this time around than the last time.
Freaking useless. But I definitely like the irony of her, I guess rejoicing the sunlight, and then that's her downfall. So it's like fair enough, but she was a nothing character anyways.
Yeah, yeah. And again, a shame. I feel like the actress had something. Yeah, and since they're fighting in the training room, Celine and Marius, yeah, she utilizes that cage as a place to hide as she tastes more of the blood. And was that supposed to be when he said "I'm one of you"? Was that supposed to be lead singer Creed?
Maybe. I'm
Ugh.
not. I get. It is supposed to be Michael. I know that, but I mean, I know it's not lead singer of Creed, but and there we go. So that's a vial.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I couldn't even tell if they were like CGIing him. Oh yeah, you go ahead, take it away.
or yeah, or they used a body double or something like that. But so it turns out, kind of like the last movie, with the whole Blood Wars thing. It seems that Marius, the reason he is getting super powered and was able to, I guess, best Selene, and okay, I'll give him that, is because he is drinking the blood. I think it should be. Again, I don't know if it should be instant here, but he was ingesting or injecting, excuse me, the blood of Michael. So he's like you said, where like hybrid, but the 70-30%.
And I like this that she's like, "Oh, I need to be reminded of the person I loved because I'm so hurt by this." And so she bites herself and starts getting flashbacks. I didn't know she could do this. So she's remembering things from her blood. And of course they cut to the sex scene. The two of them are going at it. And I was like, I wonder how much screen time is actually taken up by flashbacks in this movie at this point. Is it 5 minutes or is it like 7 minutes?
I also thought I don't know if she was doing it to remember where like anything she said to of Eve of like, hey, where you should be going, but
Oh my god.
and then pulls a like Mortal Kombat fatality, which I didn't even realize by the way until like afterwards because she like pulls something. I thought she stabbed him with something, but nah, she pulled his spine out, which is I think either Sub Zero's move or
Oh, it's the Predator.
Scorpions. I don't remember which one. Oh, that too. Sorry. Oh, I guess one of them ripped that off. Never mind. I say ripped that off, but I guess that's what they took from that. Never mind.
Yeah, and I like that moment. And I kind of like this too when he walks out with the rubber head. And he's like, "Look, I killed your leader. Get your wounded and get the fuck out." I was like, "Okay, I don't mind that." If only he would have said, "Get the fuck out." By the way, that old guy fighting those lichens again just devalues them as villains. Like that guy does not look. He should have been killed. One of the first ones killed.
Most certainly.
Get out! You guys are a bunch of bad dogs. Bad dog gets out the spray bottle. Then they just leave.
Yeah, this sword. Yeah, this sword was supposed to, be repellent to you guys. Not at all.
Yeah, it's the head. He should have waved the sword at him. Either get out or face this. And they all like, oh no.
Eat this. So
Oh, I like
now,
this. The refugee vampires. Oh, we need to bring out the stocks for them. Here you go. Everybody take a drink.
where's all that blood coming from, by the way?
Yeah, again, I don't think we've seen a single human throughout this whole movie, so maybe they got them all locked up in like a cave down below. And they're just draining them.
Is it cattle? Is it pigs? Is it what? What kind of blood is it exactly? So there's that lock of hair, I guess, of Eve's, which I don't remember. Well, I guess she didn't do that last film because they didn't know that they were going to banish Eve to the Shadow Realm for this film.
Yeah, again, maybe don't make the movie if you can't get back the character that you were building up to. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, hey, you could have gotten a different actor as well, like you had said, because maybe she's a bit
Yeah,
older now. We don't know how long it's been since the last film, but you could have gotten a different actor as well. And as you said, it kind of is a bit of a disappointment that we couldn't get the lead singer Creed back, but or at least the way they offed him off in the film, like that kind of does like just in a flashback. It's like
yeah,
okay,
yeah. It feels disrespectful in some strange way.
there is no beginning, there is no end. There's only becoming. I am Zool.
Oh my god, the CGI face on that girl that walks up. Oh boy, that's when I was like, oh man, this 2016. They already did the CGI face in Civil War and Rogue One, and both of those I don't think were great.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
But both those movies were far superior to that. That was like a video game shot.
I was thinking more of the scene from Terminator Salvation.
Oh dear. Well, that was quite a bit before,
It was.
but that was oof. Yeah, and even her voiceover at the end there, she was like whispering it in some strange way. I was like, everything about this ending is just weird and wrong.
Like she's ascended almost or become a different person.
Yeah, yeah, it could be. Oh boy. Um, yeah, we've arrived at the end here. Let's see how long the. Yeah, it was about the same. It was only about an hour and 20 minutes long for the credits. That's just so short. That's barely even feature length.
And they show the and they show the title sequence again. Interesting. Okay. So this one doesn't feel like it was from 2016, even if it was released in 2016. Does that make sense?
Yep, that's fair. That's fair.
Like, I'll give them this. They are really attempting to make it look like it was from. Well, it's not okay. They're not trying to make it look like it's from the 2000s, but what I mean is that it definitely feels like it's emulating that look of the film from the 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like they could have shot this, 2 weeks after they shot the last one in 2012, and it just sat on a shelf for years.
Maybe with like a better budget and whatnot, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's I don't want to say sad, but it definitely is a little bit disappointing for this one. I I don't feel like vitriolic, like hatred towards it. Again, that's a strong
No.
word, but it's like I don't feel like I just feel like it fizzles out like a whoopee cushion, and it's like I kind of I don't know. It feel yeah, it just makes the last two feel like a bit. Well, maybe not the last two, but definitely feels like this one was a bit directionless.
Yeah, whatever this duology was building towards, it feels like it just either because people wouldn't come back or because they just didn't really have a real direction. Yeah, it just makes them feel like secondary. Like if I was to rewatch the Resident Evil or fuck if I was to rewatch the Underworld series, I could just watch the first three and be like, oh, that was a satisfactory little trilogy there. Maybe unofficially since the last one's a prequel, but it feels like it fills in some gaps for that first one and it gives me a nice satisfactory universe. These two, I really don't know if they added much of anything worth going back to.
What it seemed like they were going for was like family, and no, I'm not going to go there.
Oh no,
But
yeah,
you see what like because she's looking for Michael, she's looking for Eve, and she never gets it, and that's kind of like I guess like I'm not saying unsatisfying, but it just ends that way. Now like she'll never see that other than like the vampire family is like it was there all along, I suppose.
yeah. And there's an element of feeling like, oh no, we have to top ourselves. So we've seen a hybrid. Okay, let's keep trying to create more hybrids. It's not just good enough to have lichens versus vampires. Oh, and we gave Celine some powers to make her like this daywalker. Oh, that's not cool enough. Now she needs to be the super speedy Teak from the Ewok movies.
Nice reference.
It's just like, maybe we don't need all this dressing. Just give us a good story. Don't try to, yeah, dress up this. Well, maybe I won't say that. Um, Don't try to put some nice lipstick on it and act like just because it's got some more flash that it has substance. The first one and the second one and the third one I feel like had some degree of substance, which surprised us. And now it's just action schlock with some horror trappings.
Yeah, if they wanted to explore, like, okay, so now that like the old guard, everything that had been established beforehand between both like the Lycan and the vampires have gone, and now we're reaching like a new era. What does that look like? Definitely kind of looked directionless to me.
Yeah, that's another thing to point out. They established like, oh, we're in this place where all three of us are at war. The fact they dropped out the humans, we don't even ever know what the world looks like, really, outside of just this one isolated little battle. They say that a lot of the covens have been wiped out, but is it like a half apocalypse world? Like, is like all production like shut down, or are the human companies still thriving? Like, I don't even know if we really saw like cars driving around in the background. I don't know. It feels like in this world the humans could be completely wiped out. So strange.
It was all largely at night, and again, the only humans we really got were those like the two train conductors or guys, in the chairs.
Oh, do we see them? Maybe I don't remember.
I remember that this it was when Alicia or Alexia, excuse me, was trying to search for Celine, and so she sees like the train station, and then goes to the train station, like goes inside the I guess like control room or whatever, and looks for where the trains are. Well, yeah, we technically see like a screen of like humans going by, but that was pretty much it, the most of it.
Oh, okay. Maybe I just missed them. But there you go. At least that's something, I guess.
Something, but yeah, largely like this has been like an invisible war that the humans didn't know about until the last film, and that's it, I guess. Or this part of the world isn't interested in that. I'm
Yeah. So I feel like we've basically given our thoughts for this one. I don't know if you agree, but I feel like maybe this is the weakest of the group. The last one was pretty weak too. I don't know. I just feel like maybe I was more forgiving with the last one, and throwing an Eve in there, I felt like had a little bit of freshness. This one just feels like, oh, now we have a knockoff Lucian. We have another villain thrown in there that really doesn't add anything, and no one really has enough screen time to matter. And that stupid superpower of her speeding around is just like, oh no, this is getting too silly.
you know I know we like off the top. Well, yeah, we don't do ratings, but we at least do orders.
Yes, yeah,
Honestly, I think I literally would just go chronological. Like I literally don't think you have to change anything of um like I'd probably still put like two, one and two, like closer together, but I'd still probably put one above two, and then three is also probably somewhere it's a little bit lower than two, but it's still in there because all right, they're at least trying to go for something there. But then like it goes four and then five, and it's like that's my I guess rating for this whole system or for this whole system, this whole like series.
yeah. I pretty much agree, except I would put two over one. I think that there was just more creative stuff there. I think the villain there was so cool with Marcus as the flying vampire guy. I just like that.
Yep, there you go.
So I go one, two, three, and then Endless War. I think that's what the anime was called.
Oh, I forgot about that. Right.
Yeah, and then four, and then this. Yeah. And at this point, I'm not super enthusiastic if they decide to continue with another sequel in this world. I mean, maybe it's been long enough that they would come back and be like, okay, let's try to pull something out here and do something real. Because yeah, they need a refresh after what we've gotten so far.
At least, and I don't want to like go there, but is this more intelligent than any of the Paul Anderson or Resident Evil films?
Yeah, I think those ones just get so far into stupidity. This one I just feel like has almost nothing to it. It's so like a flat note all the way through, and everything's sped through so quick.
Yep.
It feels like they have a lot of ideas and potential that they just never bothered to explore. They just threw them out there and hoped that was enough.
I don't know if bland's the word or just like there was any yeah like you said there's potential there like I would say wasted but well yeah maybe I
Yeah,
have to but
yeah,
I don't mean to say that because again I don't mean to be a broken record but I was surprised by the series
yeah,
from the start. Excuse me.
yeah. And I'm still positive, and having revisited them now, I definitely think I will return to those first three at some point and enjoy them again. Because when I watched the third one in the theater, I was so like I came out so negative that I just like threw the whole series away. I was like, I'm not interested in watching those again. And I think I was over judging. I think that third one holds up better on returning to it now. But yeah, these last ones I can understand why they didn't make an impact and why. Yeah, it did not pick up for another entry.
And I saw in the credits there, yeah, it was mostly primarily like filmed in the Czech Republic. There you go. So, but again, I gotta, sorry, I'm gonna complain a bit, even if like it is for irony's sake. Man, there was no like alternative rock song or not even alternative rock
Oh
song, but
yeah,
song that was at the end. It was just generically like violins and string section or something. Not even that, just like super generic and nothing like at the end to make me be like, oh yeah, this was definitely part of the 2000s, and I can just
yeah.
hear the edge to it, or like the, the smugness to it or whatnot by like having Evanescence play or some other band like that.
Did you like at the very end, instead of like a post-credit scene, we get the Sony logo or the Sony, I guess whatever their trademark name was at the time, or their B moved trade. What do you call that?
I don't even remember.
Catchphrase. I don't know if that's quite right.
Yeah, no, catchphrase is right. I freaking don't even. Yeah, I
I
don't even.
rolled my
Was that the
eyes.
end of Go? Was that at the end of Ghostbusters 2016?
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if I ever sat to the end of that. Maybe we'll find out one of these days. Fingers crossed.
Maybe one of these days. You are so on about that. I'm genuinely surprised about that.
I'm still on it. Yeah, I'm still pushing for it.
Anyway, so would be interesting if they ever did return to this, and they had Kate Beckinsale at least be a producer on it, and they didn't necessarily do Celine. I wonder if there's still room to do a story and tell stories in this universe or not.
I think that they could just straight up just remake it if they wanted to. Maybe for TV, maybe that'd be better. I think anime would be cool if they could do an anime series.
Yeah, that and I'd still kind of. I mean, it's called Castlevania. I'm still looking towards like a video game. Obviously,
Yeah,
there should be
yeah,
no hope in that, but just like nah, I feel like just because it's Sony, it's like Sony, you guys are making so many video games now that are basically the same. Why not bring in Underworld? It literally is your property. Like that's free money right there for pit
yeah,
sakes.
yeah. I just feel like there was enough good in the franchise overall that they could still pull out something really cool with it. It just maybe the this iteration has long since run its course, and at this point, I don't know if there's a way to come back really after that one. It just feels like the creativity's gone.
Yeah, no. So, or maybe in fact, maybe I'm just okay with instead of just like saying remake, reboot, next entry, maybe, as I said, unrecorded, maybe it is all right for it to just remain in the 2000s
Yeah,
for what it was. Not to lock it away in some not treasure trove, but in some time capsule or anything like that, or let it die in the 2000s. No, I don't want it to die in the 2000s, but I think it's definitely this whole series. I guess I would recommend the first three. Definitely the first two, that's for sure. But after that, yeah, if you're looking, yeah, maybe watch the animated version and the other two. But yeah, I wouldn't really. It's not at the top of
yeah,
my list. I'd just
yeah.
say yeah, go back to the first one or the first two and three. That's it for me.
Yeah, I really can't imagine anyone coming away feeling enriched by these last three. But yeah, the first three, maybe just some things just are suited for that era, like the full leather outfit, the kind of badass slow motion of the shooting, and the music too, that dated music. Yeah, maybe that's all we need is just those first two or three. So
Yeah, even though it's connected, it's a lot more medieval and sword and sandals than the first two. So, But yeah,
Yeah.
still, like, if you wanted to see the prequel to, what happened with Lucian and Victor, go watch it there.
Oh, but yeah, I guess we come to a close of yet another series, and thank you, Isaac, for spearheading this one. It was fun to go back. It was fun to revisit that piece of my childhood and see that there was more there than I remembered. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, no, you're welcome, my friend.
Yeah, and it was nice to, even though I didn't come away positive from these last two, I was always curious, seeing the ads. I was like, wow, that franchise is still going. I wonder what they're doing with it. But never enough to actually want to watch them. So it was nice to have the excuse.
I hope that your curiosity, excuse me, has been satisfied with this, and I'm glad that I'm happy that I'm also able to look at it with another new series to watch, or at least another films to add to the watch list at some point, or the rotation, excuse me. So appreciate that, and yeah, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, those between unaffiliated, for listening to us ramble on. Till next time on other feats. If you got to this point without being too fatally sensitive to all the blood on screen, honestly, wasn't as gory as I thought it was. So,
No.
well, maybe the next one will be like, Blood Coven or something like that. Who knows? Till next time, peace.
For so long, I thought you were the future. I was wrong. I am the future.